A hospital corridor at dawn. Fluorescent light hums. A young nurse, Maya Rivers, moves with steady, quiet purpose. Her scrubs are slightly worn. Her hair is tied back with a thin ribbon. She smiles at a janitor she passes. She knows the rhythms. Maya, soft, to herself, another day. She greets patients with the type of warmth that leaves strangers feeling less alone. She settles at a nurse's station, paperwork, coffee, a small photo of her mother taped to a file. Her name badge reads, Maya Rivers, RN. A man arrives on a gurney. The patient, late 40s, gaunt but dignified. Monitors beep. A soft hum of machines. As Maya draws his chart, she notices the name, Samuel Reed. Maya, he'll be stable through the night. Keep his vitals close. Any pain, call me. A soft murmur. The patient opens his eyes, meets hers with an intense, careful gaze. Samuel, thank you. Maya offers the practiced smile of someone whose life is about care. A doctor enters, clinical and efficient. Dr. Pre-op clear. He'll be admitted for kidney transplant evaluation. We need a living donor. Maya glances at the chart. Samuel's file says, end-stage renal disease, no immediate family listed. He winces and apologizes for the inconvenience. Samuel, no family. It's complicated. Maya's hands linger on the chart a second longer. Compassion is a muscle she exercises daily. Later, in the break room, she overhears coworkers talk about organ matches and long waiting lists. She scrolls on her phone, thumb pausing over phrases that have been circling her for months. Donor match, blood type, living donor. She looks back at Samuel's photo on the chart, a nondescript headshot in hospital paperwork. She doesn't know he is anything more than a man who needs a kidney. Maya, whisper, what would be expected of me? Her friend and fellow nurse, Lexi, leans in with cynical warmth. Lexi, you'd be weird if you didn't ask questions. But you always do. Maya, you're not just kind. You're dangerous with a good heart. Maya smiles. Dangerous with a good heart. Outside, the city breathes with indifferent indigo light. Montage. Maya teaching a child how to hold a thermometer, folding bed linens, texting her sister home in Queens about rent and how she'll be okay. She checks the hospital donor board. Statistics flash. Matches, successes, rejections. In the chapel, Samuel sits alone. He is lost in a paper cup of coffee and a book about medieval ships, an odd choice for a man who carries such deliberate stillness. A few days pass. Maya runs routine checks. She treats Samuel like every patient, yet with the soft curiosity that lingers behind her professionalism. One night, Samuel confesses a fragment of his loneliness. Samuel, I used to have someone. Funny how silence grows when you stop answering calls. Maya, used to listening, doesn't pry. She has her own debts, her own quiet half-truths. She is 28, supports a younger sister, studies for a promotion that will never quite leave her less tired. Yet here, around Samuel, she feels another type of urgency, a private insistence to help. She offers, with the reckless generosity of someone who has held too many fragile hands at too many wrong times. Maya, if you need a living donor. I have family, but I'd do it. I mean, I don't know. If it ever came to it. Her voice is small. Lexi raises an eyebrow, alarmed. Lexi, Maya, you can't just volunteer your organs like a library book. Maya shrugs. For months, she has donated hours, comfort, her small savings. The idea of giving part of herself to keep someone alive isn't new. It is an extension of everything she does. She goes through the testing with the stubborn hope of a woman who has spent a life saying yes. Testing montage, blood draws, MRIs, cross matches, late-night phone calls. There is suspense in the sterile dates on charts. Samuel watches Maya in this absurd intimacy, eyes that miss nothing. He says nothing about the tests, only smiles in that way that suggests gratitude and something else, curiosity tinged with caution. A week later, Maya receives a call, compatible. She sits in her car outside the hospital and checks her hands, imagining the incision lines, the slow recovery. She texts her sister that she'll be okay. She signs forms because that's what caregivers do. Consent, clarify, consent again. Lexi drives her home that night and tries to talk her out of the operation with bad jokes and better concern. But Maya's mind is a river that decides quickly and flows. Lexi promised me one thing. If he turns out to be some billionaire trying to buy a kidney because he thinks money can fix everything, You call me, and I come and punch him in the face. Maya, if he's a billionaire, I'll negotiate. They laugh, brittle as glass. The next morning, Maya walks into the OR. The anesthesiologist nods. Bright lights. The surgical team moves like a single organism. Maya's last memory before sleep is the beeping of monitors and a quiet hand squeeze from Lexi. In recovery, Maya opens her eyes to sunlight leaking through blinds. Her chest is tender, her voice rough. Lexi sits and grins foolishly, relief radiating. Then Samuel enters the recovery room. He looks smaller in that human way, his shoulders softened. He takes her hand without theatrics. Samuel, you did a bravely stupid thing. Maya, you did something brave too. You kept going. Samuel laughs softly, the sound full of surprise. Samuel, I thought I would be lonelier. Maya tries to deflect. Maya, guess not, huh? For a while, it's ordinary. Checkups, shared hospital meals, a presence that doesn't demand explanation. But outside, a different life lifts like a tide. Samuel's name surfaces in passing conversations among staff, compounding into murmurs. He is the CEO of a major firm, Reed and CO, but no one speaks of it openly. Maya remains uncurious. Money is not the language she uses to measure people. As she recuperates, Samuel insists on driving her home. He is still recovering. His steps are cautious. They share music on the ride home. He reveals nothing about boardrooms, about ticker symbols, about an office on the 52nd floor. In his apartment, small, tastefully modest despite hints of wealth, there is a single photograph on a shelf. Samuel as a smiling, younger man, arm around a woman. The caption is faded. Maya's life resumes. Shifts, hospital hustle, nights at her sister's apartment, cooking rice in a pan too small for the amount of sauce she likes. Samuel begins to visit more often, not as an employer or a man of status, but as someone learning to make coffee correctly. His curiosity about trivial things is sincere. How to tie a scarf, how a tomato should taste. Maya finds the billionaire stories irrelevant. She knows this man as the one who tunes a radio and leaves the window open to listen to the city. Word spreads outside the hospital. A hospital board member, an old family friend of Samuel's, visits in awkward silence. Maya learns, through a casual nurse gossip thread, that Samuel Reed is not a name to be said lightly. A philanthropic CEO withdrawn after a divorce that read like a small scandal. The world sees him as a parable, brilliant, isolated, rumor-scarred. Maya feels the pull of the knowledge like a draft at the door. She shrugs it off. Identity carries less weight than honesty when someone is suffering. As months pass, their connection deepens. They share meals of boiled eggs and burnt toast. They watch old movies, argue about whether the hero should have stayed. Samuel becomes less reserved, often looking at Maya like someone recalibrating to warmth. Maya teaches him to cook, and he listens like a man who learns languages to speak to people who've never existed on his calendar. A reporter shows up at Samuel's office building one evening, a flash of camera vying for answers about philanthropic donations from Reed and Company to surprise kidney research grants. Samuel acts like a man who understands applause but has never been touched by it in a way that changes day-to-day life. Maya feels like a character in a play, watching a scene she can't quite enter. One night, Samuel opens up in a way that shakes Maya. They sit on a rooftop of his building, a view of city lights like fragile constellations. He admits something. After years of success, he realized how ill-equipped he was for human intimacy. He reveals, without fanfare, that small kindnesses used to be rare in his world. People who wanted something. He had an estranged father, a divorce, a list of regrets as long as a ledger. Samuel, I used to think success would fill the emptiness. It only made the echo louder. Maya listens. She knows about emptiness in a different language, late rent notices, hospital night shifts, but the feeling is universal. Maya, then don't pretend you're not lonely. He laughs, but it's brittle. Samuel, I wouldn't have survived without you, Maya. Not just the kidney, everything since. Their relationship, generous and fragile, becomes public quietly. Friends notice. Colleagues nod. Samuel's PR team suggests charitable appearances. He politely declines, preferring the quiet of shared coffee. Maya handles the limelight with a nurse's humility, shrugs it off in interviews, and insists the story is about a man who needed help. Samuel watches and admires her refusal to let fame alter her. The balance begins to tilt when Samuel insists on covering Maya's medical bills in full and sets up a trust for her sister's tuition. Maya, who turned away from gifts before, resists. There's a quiet tension, her pride and his desire to give. He speaks with earnestness that sometimes feels like a quest for atonement. Samuel, you gave me part of you. I want to give you security. Maya's answer is simple. Maya, I don't want charity. I want honesty. That's rarer than any money. He nods, as if the phrase is a currency he hasn't learned to spend. Their days are ordinary large and small things. Then the twist arrives like a storm. An investigative journalist uncovers a series of emails, years-old threads showing that Samuel had been aware of a nearby hospital's volunteer nurses program and had quietly funded initiatives that created a pipeline of volunteers for his philanthropic foundation's health programs. The emails show he had anonymously donated funds for donor outreach, a program that funded transport for patients and covered some screening costs. The journalist's piece hints that Samuel had engineered chance encounters between donors and recipients for research into human generosity. The piece publishes. The hospital is swamped with questions. The headline suggests manipulation. Maya reads the article on her phone during a lunch break, taste going stale in her mouth. Samuel denies any orchestration, but whispers and looks begin to follow him. He claims the program was designed to improve donor matching for those without support networks. Maya wants to believe him. Samuel, I did fund outreach. I wanted to fix a broken system, not people. But the doubt seeds itself. Maya confronts him in his apartment. It becomes a night with microphones of pain, the small, brutal questions. Maya, did you know me? Did you choose me? His silence is a room she hasn't been in before. He does not deny the funding, but he never claims to have selected her. He says he thought he had built a system that would improve countless lives. And if that meant fronting resources, so be it. He apologizes for the perception. Samuel, if anyone was hurt, I'm sorry. I never wanted you to feel used. Maya walks out into rain that smells of city asphalt and the wrongness of something she can't name. She tries to separate the man she knows from the man the world has painted. She calls Lexi, whose counsel is fierce. Lexi, if you were picked like a puppy for a show, you can still be whoever you were before the stage. Maya's mind scrambles through the facts. Samuel funded the program. Samuel had funded many things, charities that coincidentally served the poor and the lonely. He had given anonymously for years. He tells her he never met her in a manufactured way. Their interactions were organic, he insists. Still, the idea of being part of a study makes her skin crawl. Meanwhile, Samuel receives boardroom pressure. Investors worry about reputation. The board wants statements. The press wants interviews. Samuel feels exposed in old ways. He makes a choice: transparency. He reveals that he had contributed to outreach programs that improved donor accessibility and that he personally supported the hospital financially. He steps down from certain public-facing roles to minimize the noise, but the headlines persist. The couple drifts into a kind of private exile. They continue to see each other, but the intimacy is haunted. Maya begins to suspect that the man who said he'd never manipulate people is holding secrets behind a polite charm. One day, Maya finds an envelope slipped under her apartment door. Inside, flight itineraries, a set of keys, and a handwritten note. Maya VO. You know when a life gets small? When a door opens and you're afraid to step through because something in the hallway clicks? I felt that with him. The note is terse. Samuel writes that he needs time, that the scrutiny has awakened something he hasn't confronted in years. He says he'll be away for a while and asks for silence so he can sort things out. It reads like a breakup that has not permitted conversation. Maya's chest tightens. The keys are to an office building, one of Reed and Company's small community hubs. The itinerary is for a trip to a remote research station in New England. Maya's heart is a conductor that still keeps beating. She continues her shifts. But she finds herself flinching at each boardroom mention of his name. She sits at home and goes through her own small rituals. Ironing a uniform, leaving a window open, reading patient notes until the words blur. She wonders at the ethics of donation. When does help become an experiment? She rereads the consent forms she signed, seeking legal answer to moral pain. She resolves to confront Samuel when he returns. He comes back quieter than before, with a beard that makes him look older and a suitcase that smells of tobacco. He invites her to his office. The building's elevators are hushed. The office is less opulent than she expected. Files, a single scenic photograph, an armchair with a faint indentation as if someone else had just left. Samuel, I didn't know how to be honest. He kneels, oddly humbled, like someone trying to reroute a tidal flow. He explains, years prior, he had been the architect of outreach because he believed systems needed financial oxygen. He thinks he did right. He reveals further layers. An email chain he had with a consultant discussing pilot programs and donor engagement, where phrases were tossed casually, human subjects, matching success rates. He never meant his work to reduce people to metrics. He was thinking about systems. He had never thought about the personal sense of betrayal that would bloom from being part of a system. Maya listens, then reveals something that flips the narrative. During their early conversations, when she joked about being dangerous with a good heart, Samuel smiled and asked her about the photo of her mother. She had never mentioned her mother had been a small-time activist hired years ago by Reed and Company to help a community clinic. The memory surfaces, a faded name on a grant application, Elena Rivers, Maya's mother, credited years earlier as a liaison between Reed and Company and community outreach. Maya's face goes cold. She had never known the link. Samuel explains, the company had supported Elena's clinic after a corporate collapse, anonymously. Samuel had been the young exec who authorized the support then. He had no memory of a face then, just the need to cut a check. But discovering the connection now felt like a missing stitch being found in a worn quilt. Maya, why didn't you tell me? Why hide something that could have been a bridge? Samuel, I thought anonymity was better. That my money would help without complicating the relationship. She stands, furious with the layered ways truth can be withheld. The world around them tilts like a building at risk. She accuses him of infantilizing her. Maya, you kept me separate from your world. Maybe because you were afraid I'd see you. He looks at her, wordless. His silence is a new kind of shame. He reaches for her hand. She pulls away. Maya, I need to know one thing. Samuel, anything. Maya, did you ever, before you knew me, intend to replace what a family might give? Did you want people to say thank you to a man instead of feel gratitude to another human? Samuel considers it long enough that the room holds its breath. Finally, he says a truth that is thin and honest. Samuel, I wanted to be loved for who I was, not what I had. I thought if I could create situations where people experienced genuine connection without my interference, I could see how real generosity looked. It was selfish. It was misguided. Maya's jaw tightens. The argument is not about his guilt. It's about the hard question. Did he see her as something to be observed or someone to be known? She walks out, firmly this time. The city hums. Days pass. Maya returns to work. Patients need her the same way the ocean needs tides. Life insists. Samuel tries to reach her with emails and flowers. She refuses. She does not want to be an exhibit. But she is also a person who cannot deny the months of small kindnesses they'd shared. Both truths are heavy. A few weeks later, Maya gets a call. Samuel has been hospitalized. He is in a non-public wing. Complications, acute stress response. Poignant details that reveal a man unraveling under scrutiny. Maya runs to the hospital without thinking. She finds him pale, attached to monitors, a ghost lit up by drip lights. She sees him as vulnerable and very human. The sight scrambles her defenses. She sits and holds his hand until dawn. He wakes and tries to smile. Samuel, you always come. Maya smiles, and for a time the world narrows to a single breath. She watches the man who had been a figure in the headlines lie small and needing. Then the bigger, crueler twist arrives. A letter arrives for Maya at the hospital office and signed, bearing only facts. An internal audit had revealed that Reed and Company's outreach program had been used to gather data, anonymized, the memo says, about potential donors and recipients. The audit suggests poor oversight. It points to a consultant who labeled participants with categories. The board claims no personal targeting. The press, hungry for narrative, frames the story with imagery that equates philanthropic design with manipulation. Maya reads the memo and discovers a notation that seizes the room. A list of employee IDs and a particular initiative where participant names were flagged for outreach. Her name appears as Participant 47A. She feels like a specimen name on a lab sheet she had never consented to be. She remembers the program coordinator she had met at a hospital fundraiser who seemed too interested in donor logistics. Did they select her? The question is a wildfire. She confronts the hospital's administration, demanding answers. There are committees and lawyers, politely deflective. The hospital insists they did not know the internal workings of Reed and Company's data practices. The morality of institutions is porous. Accountability slides around and into rooms where the light is dim. Maya returns to Samuel. He sits on the edge of his bed, thinning. He has been through interviews. He has tried to clarify. The board wants him to resign from philanthropic oversight. He is tired. He looks at her with a face that pleads for moral simplicity he cannot purchase. Samuel, I didn't see the way it would look. Maya presses a hand over his, feeling the bone and the rhythm of a human who almost always gets what he wants. She recognizes that the corporate machinery can swallow intentions and rewrite them into narratives of control. Maya, even if you didn't intend it, you allowed a system that did. The harm is still harm. Samuel nods. He offers to relinquish his trust, to step away and make restitution. He wants to show the depth of his remorse by dismantling the mechanism that caused pain. He proposes a public mea culpa, an institutional overhaul, a fund that will be governed by community voices. He writes checks to clinics, but the currency Maya wants is not financial. She demands concrete action and change from the institution that allowed her life to be cataloged. They work together, cautiously, gingerly, pushing Reed and Company's trustees to restructure outreach into community-governed partnerships. Samuel grows into accountability with the awkward sincerity of a man learning new grammar for his life. Maya watches as he meets committees full of people who have been hurt by systems like his and listens without defending. Slowly, the public starts to shift its interest from scandal to reform. Reed and Company establishes a community advisory panel. They hire an ombudsperson. The company funds local clinics with oversight by neighborhood boards. It is not a complete fix. Wounds remain open. Maya demands nothing romantic from the gestures made at the corporate level. She wants them effective and honest. Months later, an event is held at the community clinic, in the same neighborhood where her mother once worked. Samuel stands at a podium, flanked by community leaders. He speaks honestly about his mistakes, about the need to give power to those serving communities. Samuel, I used my wealth to build programs. I failed in oversight. Today, we hand the keys to those we meant to serve. The applause is tentative. Maya stands by the back, hands folded, watching not because she needs the closure, but because she wants to believe that the man she once trusted can become something better. He catches her eye and nods. No theatrical gestures, no grand declarations. An ordinary nod, apologies in the space between them. After the event, they walk together in the park, the kind of ordinary walk that undoes spectacle. Samuel speaks in a voice soft with regret and growth. Samuel, you asked once if I wanted people to say thank you to a man instead of feel gratitude to another human. The answer is, I don't know what I wanted. I know now that love and generosity must be freed from power. Maya people can still be generous without needing to be gods. They pause at a bench. Children run like brief comets. An old woman feeds pigeons. The city hums in small, connective ways. Samuel, there's another truth I haven't told you. Maya tilts her head. She is wary. He takes a breath.